بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. I praise Allah تبارك وتعالى. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah to raise the rank and the status of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. I ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to grant us the sincere intention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So alhamdulillah, we continue in our discussion of the permissibility of at-taqleed, which is following qualified Islamic scholarship. And we talked about the issue of ijtihad, issuing expert legal opinion in matters of the sacred law. And we talked about the one who is qualified to do that is called al-mujtahid. So we were going into talking about the conditions of the mujtahid, and to get an indication of what the mujtahid needs to know, we started talking about the mufti or the qadi in the traditional Islamic sense of the word. And the difference between the mufti and the qadi is that they share the same qualifications, except that the mujtahid's qualifications extend to all aspects of the sacred law, whereas the mufti or the judge or the qadi, their expertise is in the field by which they're issuing their legal verdicts or judging certain court cases. So we talked about 10 points of Quranic knowledge that mujtahid would need, just as way of example. Then we talked about 10 points. We talked about 10 points from the Quran, and then we talked about 10 points from the Sunnah, meaning in Hadith. So we got around 20 points from the Quran and Sunnah that person needs to know. And that's just some tools out of the toolbox. And now we're going to go into the issue of, and now there is ijma. That's a whole another discussion. But we're going to talk about al-qiyas. What do they need to know in that? Now,
Bismillah.
628.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, Number 3, types of analogical reasoning.
When we said analogical reasoning, al-qiyas, we said that the primary sources for Islamic rulings, where we extract Islamic rulings, or sources of law, should I say, are al-Quran, as-Sunnah, al-Ijma', and al-Qiyas. And this is by the agreement of the four madhahib. Now, go ahead.
Number 1, making an a fortiori analogy between acts P and Q, where if P takes a ruling, Q is even likelier to take the same ruling. For example, if saying uff to one's parents is unlawful,
Oof
to one's parents is unlawful as per the translator, As at Quran, Surah 17, Ayah 23, one may analogically infer that beating them must also be unlawful.
So you got the kind of analogy. You take one case that is explicitly mentioned in the Quran, and from that case, you can infer what is more severe than that will take the same ruling.
Number two,
Even though the more severe case is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran. So Allah doesn't mention in the Quran that it's unlawful to hit one's parents. But he does mention that it's unlawful just to say oof, which is a disrespectful word, right? So if the disrespectful word, which is actually harming the parent, is unlawful, then obviously, what by analogy, what is more harmful to the parents, which is to hit them or to beat them, must also be unlawful.
Number two, making an analogy between acts P and Q, where if P takes a ruling, one may infer that Q is equally likely to take the same ruling. For example, if it is unlawful to wrongfully consume an orphan's property, then it must also be unlawful to destroy his property by burning it up.
So the analogy is dealing with one case that is the likelihood of it is stronger, maybe even the strongest, and then there's the analogy where the likelihood is more probable, and this type of case. Go ahead.
Number three, and making an analogy between acts P and Q, where if P takes a ruling, one may infer that it is likely, though less certain, that Q takes the same ruling. As per Sheikh Abdul Wakil Durubi, because of a common feature in the two acts which function as the basis, ilah, for the analogy. For example, For example, if usurious gain, riba, is unlawful in selling wheat, as discussed in another ruling, K3.1, then it is also unlawful in selling apples, the basis for the analogy being that both are food.
So analogy is going to look at cases that are clear, cases that are clearly mentioned, cases that are not mentioned. So the sacred law must cover all cases. So how do the scholars do that? By way of analogy and other tools besides this one to arrive at rulings for new things that didn't exist in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Go ahead.
The meaning of knowledge of the above matters is, per Abdul Wakil Durubi, for a judge, to know part of what is connected with the Quran.
For the mujtahid, you got to remember it's everything. For the judge, only in what he's judging.
Or to know part of what is connected with the Quran, Sunnah, as per Abdul Bakir Durubi, i.e. Hadith, and analogy, for complete knowledge of the Book of Allah Ta'ala, not complete knowledge of the Book of Allah Ta'ala, total familiarity with the rules of the Sunnah or comprehensive mastery of the rules of analogical reasoning, but rather that which is pertinent to giving judgments in court. Per Abdul Wakil Durubi, though an absolute expert in Islamic legal reasoning, Mujtahid Mutlaq.
Remember we said mujtahid, and I said there are different levels of a mujtahid, right? And I'll go back just to mention, you have mujtahid mutlaq, mujtahid muqayyid, you have mujtahid fil masail, right? Mujtahid in cases, and then you have ahl al-naql and people of transmission in various levels of scholarship till you get down to the muqallid, which is the regular common person who's obligated to follow other scholars. Now, so mujtahid mutlaq is at the top level, complete, absolute legal scholar in deducing rules from the primary sources, like Abu Hanifa. Now,
such as Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, or Ahmed, is obliged to know what relates to every subject matter in sacred law. He must know the reliability ratings of hadith narrators in strength and weakness. When two primary texts seem to contend, he gives precedence to
so
one.
now we're going to talk about when you got two verses of the Quran or a hadith in the Quran, and they seem to differ. One seems to say this, one seems to say that. He had to know how to work that out, right? Because the Quran does not contradict the Quran, and the Sunnah does not contradict the Sunnah, right? So he got to learn how to join between these things, and he got to have a methodology by which to do it.
Those of particular applicability, khas, over those of general applicability, am. Number 2, those that take restrictions, muqayyad, over those that do not, mutlaq. Number 3, those which unequivocally settle a particular question, nas, over those of merely
Nos,
probabilistic legal. I'm sorry?
nos.
Nas, excuse me. Over those of merely probabilistic legal significance, dhahir. Number 4, those which are literal, muhkam, over those which are figurative, mutashabbi. Number 5, and those which supersede previous rulings, those with a contiguous channel of transmission, and those with a well authenticated channel of transmission over their respective opposites.
So here, these are all those techniques. So he's going to need all this information because as he approached the Islamic text, he's going to see that sometimes he's going to run into differences in relation to the text. And how do I understand this text? It can be confusing sometimes. When you have all these tools in his toolbox, he knows how to navigate the vast body of its information that is found in the Quran and the Hadith and the consensus and the statements of the companions and so forth and so on. Now,
He must also have knowledge of the Arabic language, its lexicon, grammar, word morphology, and rhetoric.
and
He
this
must,
is important. Why? Because uh, Arabic language is the medium by which we receive revelation. So he has to have mastery and command. This is the mujtahid we're talking about of the Arabic language, right? So he has to know nahw and sarf and balagha, all these different forms of Arabic and knowing them well so he doesn't misunderstand words because originally, keep in mind, words don't have vowels on them. So when you read, as you can look over to the side, none of these words got vowels. So if you don't know grammar, right, and you don't know word morphology or rhetoric, you're going to misunderstand a lot of things just by your lack of strength in the Arabic language. And trust me, the Arabs today are not like the Arabs before. People are not strong in the Arabic language like they used to be at all. So that is a problem, you know. But the mujtahid scholar cannot be like that. He must be a master of the Arabic language. Now,
he must likewise know the positions of the scholars of sacred law regarding their consensus and differences, and not contradict their consensus. Comment by Sheikh Abdul Wakil Durubi,
and here, good.
which is unlawful as discussed in another ruling, B7.2, with his own reasoning.
Here, another thing, and I've just indicated I won't go in long. In our time, you have groups of individuals who may have studied knowledge. We surrender that. But the way they study knowledge, and it's a habit now, even in the Islamic schools, that they just study a little bit of this, 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 a little bit of this opinion, that opinion, this opinion, that opinion, and that becomes their school of thought. They have no expertise in none of the stuff they're talking about, not even the basic stuff, because it's a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And unfortunately, because many people, even the great scholars in our time, have been overwhelmed by the vast numbers of non-madhab following people, right? And strange opinions in our sacred law, they have succumbed to that. So they would have a student that has that inclination and they would teach them like that. Unfortunately, this is just a sad reality. So a person would say, for instance, I studied in Azhar, but I'm not Azhari. I want you to pay attention to that. I studied in Azhar, but I'm not Azhari, because Azhar unfortunately today it's not Azhari. Do you hear what I said? Listen closely to what I just said. I studied in Azhar, but I'm not Azhari because unfortunately Azhar is no longer Azhari. Don't know if that flew over your head, but it's a sad commentary. I studied in Azhar, but I am not Azhari because unfortunately Azhar is no longer Azhari. I just need you to ponder on that for a minute and you'll get my indication. Go ahead.
If no one possesses the above mentioned qualifications and a strong ruler appoints an unfit Muslim to the bench, such as someone who is immoral or who, comment by Sheikh Abdul Wakil Darubi, is incapable of independent legal reasoning, ijtihad, and merely follows other qualified scholars, taqlid, or a child or a woman, then the appointee's decisions are implemented because of necessity, so as not to viscerate people's concerns and interests. Per Sheikh Abdul Wakil Darubi, and this is what exists in our day, when the conditions for an Islamic judge are seldom met with.
Listen to his last point. Read that section again. If no one possesses the above mentioned qualifications. So let's take it. He's talking about the judge. So if it ain't, we're talking about the judge. But we want to make all of the sacred laws. So we're talking about the mujtahid. Read that again.
If no one possesses the above mentioned qualifications and a strong ruler appoints an unfit Muslim to the bench, such as someone
So
who...
a strong ruler, he puts someone on the bench that's really not qualified. So we got people playing mujtahid that are not mujtahids. I don't follow no school. I follow Quran and Sunnah. That's the function of a mujtahid. That must mean you got comprehensive knowledge of the sacred law. And if you're unfit for that, go ahead.
Such as someone who was immoral or who, per comment by Sheikh Abdul Wakil Darubi, is incapable of independent legal reasoning, ijtihad, and merely follows other qualified scholars.
So the person is not a mujtahid, he's a muqallid in his state, right? Go ahead.
He merely follows other qualified scholars, taqlid, or a child, or a woman, then the appointee's decisions are implemented because of necessity, so as not to vitiate people's concerns and interests. Per Sheikh Abdul Wakil Durubi, and this is what exists in our day, when the conditions for an Islamic judge are seldom met with.
Here. So with the judge, and this happens in our time. So the government appoints judges. They don't even, some of them don't even know the obligatory knowledge, but they are judge. But you know, we gotta live, so they're gonna make judge. The judges, we don't have qualified judges. We gotta do something for the interest of the people, right? That's what's happening at a higher level. We're settling for scholarship because people are not scholars. We still got to get questions, answers. They're not like that. Remember what I told you yesterday when our teacher authorized us to teach? He said, remember, you are teachers by necessity. Had qualified scholars been here, you would be a student. We forget that. When there are qualified mujtahid scholars, there's no need for you to do what you're doing. So don't assume because of the absence of knowledgeable people that you're knowledgeable. That's something we should keep in mind. So as we saw here and we read, the mujtahid is at a much higher level than we think. So not everybody is qualified to do that job. That's why the Muslims have followed one of the four schools for the past 1,200 years or more, right? That is why, because our ultimate goal is to preserve the sacred law. And if we don't have qualified people to do that, the sacred law will run amok because of people, because of people. So I warn us, take your knowledge from that which has been trusted for over 1,000 years, where even as scholarship deteriorated, the top levels of deteriorating scholarship were always within the 4 schools. I said scholarship has deteriorated, right? To the extent that it's become almost non-existent in our time. Real Islamic scholarship. And I'll give you an example of this, just for point. I listen to some people that say, I studied with so-and-so, I studied with so-and-so, I studied with so-and-so. And I say the same thing. I studied with so-and-so and I studied with so-and-so. And I never heard them say what you're talking about. And I actually studied with them, right? So either you're a liar or I'm a liar, and I'm not going to accuse no one of lying, or you're saying that the scholars are telling people different things, right? Right? And then if you're saying the scholars are telling us different things and playing politics with us, then that's what I'm talking about. So we don't need to rely on them. We need to rely on when scholars didn't play politics. If that's what you're claiming, right? So, because we're on different understandings, you think you can just open up books and give legal judgments, and I totally disagree with that. And you say you learned that from the scholars, and I say I learned from the scholars the exact opposite of what you're talking about. And I granted we may have learned at different times, right? We may have learned at different times. And in my time, maybe scholars were different, and in your time, they're different. Allahu Alam. But my point is, we do have something that is trustworthy, reliable, and we can't differ it, and it's been documented. Let's follow what is trustworthy and leave off what is possible to be misinterpreted. Now, is that clear? This point I just made? Is any question what I just said? Is it clear, the point I'm making? Allah. And trust me, this is across the board. Across the board, right? We have to rely on our teachers, yes. But we need to have some kind of understanding of the text so that we can protect our deen. Seriously, right? Because if that's the mujtahid, I guarantee you, none of the people that's talking know these things by mastery. Not a one. They don't. And all it would take is a simple test. They don't have that kind of knowledge, right? We don't. We just not studying like that no more. Them days is, they say that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. What you got right now is microwave Islam. That's what's left. And some people, they are still trying to cook on the stove, right? Some people. But most of the stuff, microwave Islam. Quick. Put it in, press 1 minute, it's finished. You're a scholar. I mean, that's just what we're dealing with. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. May Allah help us. But I'm just saying, for us, don't be like that. Let's take our time. Let's learn as much as we can. Let's master as much as we can, you know. I want to give some advice. I wanted to leave it alone, but I can't. And this is for everyone who learns with me. Listen, we have not learned. We have not learned. We haven't been together long enough to have mastered anything. We haven't been together. So all of us, even though we're studying every day and we're at it every day, we have not studied enough for any of us to claim mastery of anything we study. You haven't been tested. You haven't been checked. And those who I have checked, we got a lot more practice to go, and they know that. So when you see people who are in our classes in our lessons and they want to go out and they want to debate and they want to challenge, you're not qualified to debate or challenge. You're not at all. What you're qualified to do is to continue studying and learning and start memorizing some stuff and get checked to make sure you know what you're talking about. It's real. Don't go out. You're learning, and alhamdulillah, you get inspired and you're discovering things. Take your time. You're not there yet. I watched a person yesterday, and those who know, and those who don't, they don't know. Talk for a while, all over the place, right? And I said to myself, and I was listening to people who come to this class, they couldn't refute him in 5 minutes. It wasn't even a long discussion. 5 minutes, he should have been done. But guess what? Because you're not studying properly, you're wasting your time debating and arguing without knowledge. Someone who should have been finished in 5 minutes. It shouldn't even been a 5-minute discussion. You should have ended the issue. But no skills, no skills, no true knowledge. So therefore, the one who doesn't know looks like he knows some stuff. It shouldn't even have been a 5-minute discussion. It would have been simple. Put me on, for you as a student, put you on, explain these cases, and it would have been over. It would have been done that quick. If a person's knowledge, that's easy. But when a person doesn't study well, instead just get a little bit of things and then go and, no, don't do that, right? Because you're not helping the situation. In other words, if you can't defend the knowledge yourself with firm understanding, you shouldn't be talking about it. You should be sitting down learning, right? So that's just a general warning to all of us. Take your time, learn the knowledge, be well. And trust me, we're not there. We got a long way to go, a long way to go. And we shouldn't be going to argue with the others. It may happen. We got to clarify issues, but that's not our intention. We want to learn the knowledge. You cannot do that overnight. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to criticize you because you need to stop. The person played an Arabic video for about 5 minutes. The people he played the Arabic video to don't know Arabic. And I know they don't know Arabic. None of them said to him, he played the video, took the video off, and said, see my point? And the people who were listening, not one of them know Arabic. And none of them said, we don't know what you just played. You heard what I just said? They're debating. He puts a video on in Arabic. Not one of the people he's talking to understand Arabic. They could not tell you what that person said for 5 minutes. They're not qualified. They don't know Arabic language. And none of them, he didn't translate, which is blameworthy on his part. Why are you playing all the Arabic and you didn't translate? So they don't know what you're talking about. And you said, see, this is a proof. They don't even know what you're talking about. You played a 5-minute video in Arabic. They don't know what you're talking about. None of them know Arabic. So you didn't clarify what you were saying. This is 5 minutes. So 5 minutes with your level of Arabic will take you a couple minutes to translate that. Right? So you translated. You didn't. And the people who were listening to you don't know Arabic. And none of them said, Assalamu alaikum, we don't know nothing that was just said. We don't know Arabic. So what kind of discussion is that? And I was listening to the Arabic because I know Arabic. I was like, what? Why did you use that? What kind of proof is that? What the heck are you talking about? I didn't say nothing. I was just listening. But it shows, and know why I didn't say anything? Because of that. It's just a show. No benefit. No one learned anything. Because you're playing stuff that no one understands and you're not telling them what they're talking about. It doesn't make sense. Why comment on something like that? It's foolish. Except to say we shouldn't do that. That's my comment. Don't do that. Go sit down and learn. And leave the expert work to the experts. And let the novice learn and benefit to one day they come to expertise. Really. We don't need to occupy, and I'm sorry to occupy your time, but it's just, I'm trying to get a point across. And it's the whole purpose why we're doing what we're doing. Let's learn properly, right? It ain't about impressing each other. It ain't about all that. We're not impressive. Even if we were impressive, if we get around real scholars, we're not impressive. So don't even worry about that, right? Yes, ma'am, there will be. But that really happened. 5 minutes. And people in this class know exactly what I'm talking about. 5 minutes of an Arabic video said, here's the proof. On and on and on and on. I'm listening like, huh? And I know the people there, they don't know Arabic. But where was the humbleness to say, listen, Aki, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't understand nothing he said. We may understand a few words, but the context of his conversation, the point he was making, it went right over us. It went right over us. Because what he used as a video actually had nothing to do with the point he was making as he was making it. In fact, the point he was making, the video he played was refuting him. I'm just saying we in madness. And he's right. We shouldn't be arguing. You're right. We got a crisis going on. We need to fix it. Seriously. We got a crisis. And it's funny, but it's not funny. Right? You laugh to stop from crying, you know? But it takes humbleness on all of our sides. I told you, that's why our teacher started us. You are a teacher by necessity. You're not a scholar. And I never forget that. Right? Never forget that. And I don't want you to forget it. We are students seeking to learn. If we learn properly, may Allah bless one of us to become a scholar. And then we teach the next generation to be scholars. But if we keep up with this microwave Islam, it's going to destroy us. We have to learn properly. That's the whole point why I'm going over this. Barakallahu fiqh, sorry for extending so long on that. Go ahead. We go back. We finished that section. So we go back to page number 8 on al-ilm alladhi huwa fard ayn, knowledge which is a personal obligation. Now,
sorry. A4.0, personally obligatory knowledge. Nawawi. There are 3 categories of sacred knowledge. The first is the personally obligatory, fard al-ayn, as defined in the previous ruling. C2.1, which is a morally responsible individual's learning the knowledge that the obligatory acts he must perform cannot be accomplished without, such as how the ablution, wudu, and prayer are done, and so forth.
So he's going to talk about the types of knowledge. He said the Islamic knowledge or the religious knowledge is of 3 types, right? So sacred knowledge, meaning al-ilm al-shar'i, religious knowledge, right? So every mukallaf, and there he says morally responsible individual, must learn certain acts that are obligatory upon him, and no one else can fulfill them for him. That's in knowledge is called fard ayn, a personal obligation, right? Tayyib, the mukallaf, now we're going to test to see if we're paying attention. What are the conditions? Three, they are three, so I'll help you. For someone to be morally responsible, what are the conditions? Three, quick, go. There are three conditions. What are they? So he said there's a personal obligation on the morally responsible individual, on the mukallaf. What are the conditions for someone to be mukallaf? MashaAllah. Okay, Isla. Anyone else? Or she just beat you to the draw? May Allah make it easy for all of us, Brother Michael. It's a process. We'll go through it, alhamdulillah. No. Okay. All right, go ahead. So that person must be sane, pubescent, and heard the basic call to Islam. Now, so there are certain things that mukallaf must know. And he mentioned them, right? Like al-wudu, as-salah, and other of the personal obligations. Now, go ahead.
Its obligatory character is how groups of scholars have interpreted the hadith in the Musnad of Abu Yahya al-Mawsuli from Anas, who relates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam Anas, apologize, who relates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala bless him and give him peace, said, "Seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim." The meaning of this hadith, though the hadith itself is not well authenticated, per comment by Sheikh Abdul Wakil Durubi, being weak, as discussed in another ruling, is true.
Here, this hadith, طلب العلم فريضة على كل Muslim, seeking the knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. It means that this knowledge is talking about a certain portion of knowledge among the sacred knowledge. Why? By the Prophet ﷺ saying, ala kulli Muslim, on every Muslim, that means that it's not every knowledge because that's an impossibility. So it's talking about a specific knowledge that every mukallaf must know. And that is what is called fard ayn.
As for the basic obligation of Islam and what relates to its tenets of faith, it is adequate for one to believe in everything brought by the Messenger of Allah Ta'ala, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala bless him and give him peace, and to credit it with absolute conviction, free of any doubt. Whoever does this is not obliged to learn the evidences of the scholastic theology.
Here's Imam al-Nawawi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So you understand this, because what you have today is a mixture of Wahhabism and Ahl Sunnah put together, wrapped up in one, called Athari. That's what they're doing today. And it's confusing. It may sound like it makes sense, but when you learn, it's a complete contradiction. It's like putting oil and water together. Just not going to work. So when you don't understand terminology, people can use terms to confuse you. So you notice whenever we discuss, when we learn, we'll talk about the term we're using and we'll define the term first before we have a conversation about it. You'll notice that if you pay attention, every time we start talking about something, we'll start talking about technical terms and what is meant by this term, right? In order to have a conversation, you have to define the scope of the conversation. You have to define what you're talking about and what you mean by the words and terms you use in the conversation, or it's going to be confusing. You're going to mix things up. So for instance, Imam An-Nawawi mentions here, what is the basic obligation of Islam in terms of what you're supposed to believe? Aqidah, right? And he said, what is sufficient is that you have confirmation, firm conviction that everything that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conveyed from Allah is true without no doubt. That's a general belief, right? Once you have that general belief and there is no doubt in it, notice, he said, وَإِتِّقَادُهُ إِتِّقَادًا جَازِمًا سَلِيمًا مِنْ كُلِّ شَكٍّ. Look at the belief. It is a belief that is a firm, safe, pure belief that has no doubt. Every doubt is removed. That belief, once you believe like that, there is no need, it's not obligatory to learn the proofs of al-mutakallimun, the scholars of al-kalam. Please follow me. This point is very important. So, when you talk about aqidah, belief, you have the foundations of aqidah and the branches and details of aqidah, right? One second. Okay, right? So you have usul and furu' of aqidah. I'm going to translate so you understand. You won't be confused. Right? Usul is the foundations of aqidah. Right? These are foundational things that everyone must know. Right? Furu' are details that are built from those foundations. Not everyone needs to know that. That's usually the realm of scholars and learned people. And that's where the mutakallimun work at, right? They build from the usul and they clarify the furu', the details. So these are the scholars of ilm al-kalam. Is this clear? I need you to follow me because I'm going to put to rest all this nonsense real quick. Is this clear? Is any question about what I just explained? Please indulge me. We're going to stop right here because I need to make sure you understand this. And this little paragraph may take me a little while to explain to make sure you understand. That's clear. All right. So you have usul and furu', the foundational parts of your belief, and then you have branches, details. Everyone must learn the foundations of Islamic belief and believe them without any doubt, right? Why? Because on them relies faith, depends one's belief or disbelief. So when we have the usul, the foundations of Islamic belief, if you contradict them, you go outside the fold of Islam because they're the foundations of belief, right? If you don't have an excuse, because sometimes someone may contradict a foundation of the belief just because they are a new Muslim and they don't know. They never heard it. They never been around Muslims. They don't even know that's a part of Islam. So this is a person that's excused until they learn, right? But in general, these foundational things in the creed, you can't contradict them. As for the details, the branches, that's only going to be known by learned people who are involved in the details of the religion, and that is the realm of scholars. So what you're obligated is the usul and not the furu. Right? Is that clear? That's clear. Tayyib. So the usul, you still need to learn that from teachers, right? Scholars, learned people. The foundations of belief are learned through teachers, scholars. Not common people can't come to the Quran and Sunnah and say, this is foundational in belief, this is not. They don't know the difference. They're laymen, they're common people. The scholars will give you and teach you what is foundational and what is detailed in relation to the matters of the creed. That's not our realm to say, oh, this is, when you live around Muslims, you're going to learn this is foundational, this is what every Muslim knows, and these are things that Muslims don't know. They don't, only scholars know. All right. I'm going to get to briefly state them because there's too many to state all of them in one class. That's why we study Aqidah as a science. So, for instance, what we learn, what book are we studying as our basic text in these classes? What's our basic text? I got to 7:30, so I got time. I want to clarify something, this issue. What is the basic books that we're studying right now? For these classes, the Post-Fajr reflection, what is our basic text that we are using and we're studying? Come on, y'all, let's go. Ladder to Success. What's the name of the book in Arabic? Sulam at-Tawfiq. Who is the author? And when did he die? Who is the author and when did he die? Not Reliance to the Traveler, that's the supplemental. Sulam at-Tawfiq. So the book is Sulam at-Tawfiq. Sulam, right? Where is Muhammad? Sulam at-Tawfiq, or the ladders to success, right? Who is the author? Now Habib Tahir, his name, that's his brother. Who's the author? Habib Tahir is the brother of Abdullah, Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir. And he died 1272. So we just want to make sure we all know what we're doing. We don't want to get lost. Why are we studying the Reliance of the Traveler? What's the purpose of this in our study? What are we using it for? If we're studying Sulam at-Tawfiq, why the Reliance of the Traveler? What is it for? Good, Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir, 1272. Why are we studying the Reliance? If we're studying Sulam at-Tawfiq, why we got Reliance of the Traveler up here? What's the purpose? Everyone can answer. Some people I know got the answer to this. Why you be shy? Make it quick. Answer. Sophia, is that a question or an answer? She said, you put a word and then a question. So is that a question or an answer? Right. Nora, good. Yes, it's a reference, Sophia. As a supplemental text to expound on issues and to clarify issues, as a reference for more additional information to what we talk about. The answer is correct, Sophia. Right. So understand that. That's what we're using it for. So it gives you more information about the issues that we're discussing in Sulam at-Tawfiq, right? So whenever we're discussing issues and we needed some more details for clarification or to expound on the things or to point us to other things, we're going to the Reliance of the Traveler. Why? Because it's an English reference for you. And as you learn more, and with the Reliance, I'm building something in you. So we're using a basic text. Then I'm supplementing things from a bigger text, which we're going to study later. The actual Reliance of the Traveler. We're going to study that book. This whole thing we're going to study later because it's later in the curriculum, right? But I can use it to help build your understanding, to put a reference in your hand so that you can follow the points I'm making. Because unfortunately, due to microwave Islam, let me take her down. Due to microwave Islam, people don't study. If we be honest, we're a family. We got to be family so we can be honest to one another, right? Take that seriously. Like, look at, I'm your brother. I'm teaching a class, but I'm your brother. You're my sister. You're my brother. And let's deal with each other like that, right? With respect. But if I don't want you to look at me, that's Imam Amin, Sheikh Amin, and then you don't be real with me. I'd rather you call me Amin, brother Amin, right? And be real with me. I'd rather you do that than to make me Imam or Sheikh and be fake. I want you to be real. I want you to be who you are. Just as you are all the time, that's who I want to know. I don't want your mask. I want you to be who you are so we can help each other. Because if you be who you are, it's easier for me to help you, right? Some people, I'm a wild dude. I'm a loose cannon. All right, I can deal with that. But if I think you pious and humble and that's not really you, I'm not going to reach you, right? Be who you are. It's fine. Just put some manners. And if you don't know them, we'll teach each of us. But be who you are. So I'm saying that to say, be honest with yourself. How many of us go to these classes, we listen, and we're not taking notes at all? That's a group. I know they exist, and you know they exist. I listen every day, but I don't write anything, right? That's one group. Second group is they write some things to the best of their ability, but they don't review. So every day they come to class, they take a few notes, but that day they don't review. So after a month or 2 months, they forgot everything they done wrote because it got overwhelming. There's too much stuff, and now they can't study it all. That's one group. That's another group. Then you got a third group, right, that take real good notes, may review some of the notes, but don't teach and spread it and review it so it's not checked. So they may have in their notes mistakes that they're not aware of, right? We want to develop all of us to our levels because everybody's not the same. But to our own individual capabilities, we want to move up that ladder. We want to go from that first case I mentioned to the third case within our own ability. So everyone is not going to be at the same, but everyone will be putting the same effort relative to their individual capability. Is that clear? That's what we're looking for. So if you can only memorize one verse, not 10, we want you to memorize that one verse, right? We want you to memorize that one verse well. You can't get 10, okay, get 1. But don't slack on 1 when you have the ability to memorize one verse. If you can only memorize a half a page, then do that. Maybe this one can memorize 5 pages. But your half a page for you is equal to that person's 5 pages. So if he does 4 and you do a quarter of a page, you're both falling short. You follow my point? And everyone should get to learn their abilities. And it shouldn't be to say, I can't. Say, I'm going to make effort. Jahid to shahid. All right. So I went on that to talk about the point. So we got Usul al-Aqidah and Furu. In the book Sulam al-Tawfiq, if you read it, everybody, does everyone have Sulam al-Tawfiq? Where is it at? The ladder to success. The ladder to success, right? If you go back to the creed section, from page 3 to page 18, from page 3 to page 18, all the things that he mentioned here is from the Usul of Aqidah. None of this is details. From page 3 to page 18, all of the thing that is mentioned here is from Usul al-Aqidah, right? The foundations of none of this is details. Did you understand that? So those who studied it with us in a brief way, right? This is Usul al-Aqidah in a summarized way, right? That's Usul al-Aqidah. Everybody got that? So once you understand that, so someone tells you that's the Aqidah of the Ash'ariyah and the Maturidiyah, right? In Usul, in the foundations of the creed. What does that mean? Every Muslim must know and believe that with absolutely certainty, free of any doubt. Anyone who doubts in those essential matters of the creed is in a dangerous position. They must learn that. It's fard ayn, as was mentioned of that knowledge in the Reliance. It's fard ayn. You have to know that. Is this clear? I want to show you something. Is that clear? If it's not, say I don't know. Say it's not clear, and I'll explain more. If it's clear, it's clear. Alhamdulillah. That's Usul al-Aqidah. That's not Ilm al-Kalam. That's not Ilm al-Kalam. That's the foundational belief you must know. Because this is a trick that people are pulling over the eyes of common people, right? Trying to sound fancy with all these terms. You know, we need to stay away from Ilm al-Kalam. That's not Ilm al-Kalam. That's Usul al-Aqidah. That's the foundations of belief. That's not Ilm al-Kalam. You don't know what Ilm al-Kalam is. That's not Ilm al-Kalam. That's obligatory knowledge related to the belief. So to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has these attributes of mukhalafatul lil hawadith, he is different from created things, is not ilm al-kalam. It's fard ayn knowledge. Every Muslim must know that. It's not ilm al-kalam. Right? What is ilm al-kalam? Ilm al-kalam, theology. All right? Is everyone with me on this? Is this clear? To know that Allah exists without a place is from the usul of Aqidah. It's not details. That's not ilm al-kalam. Allah mawjudun bila makan. Allah exists without a place. That's not details. That's foundational. That's something every Muslim should know that. Must know that. It's an obligatory belief. That's not a detail. That's not something you can say, oh, it doesn't matter if we don't know that. No, it does matter. It matters. Knowing that Allah is not a body is from the foundations of Islamic creed. It's not a branch. It's not detailed. Allah is not a body. Is this clear? Let's go to ilm al-kalam in terms of dealing with details. Now, ilm al-kalam as of Ahl Sunnah, Ash'ari, and Maturidis, right, deals with refuting with detailed evidences those people who contradicted Ahl Sunnah in issues of the creed. That's ilm al-kalam. When they go into the details to refute those who contradicted Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah in those matters of the creed. That's ilm al-kalam. And if there is no need for that, no one should go into it. Rather, just believe the proper belief of Ahl Sunnah and you're finished. So don't mix the two. There's two different things. I'll pause there for any questions. Any questions about what I mentioned, please go ahead. I want you to understand, I'm going to stop so it don't get too complicated. I'm going to stop right there, make sure everyone understands it, and I'll build on it later, tomorrow. Is there any questions? So we can mark where we stop at 4.2. We'll come back to that, 4.2. Any questions? Fire away. Can you explain what I just stated? In relation to what, Sophia? More specific. Ilm al-kalam. You can say ilm al-kalam, you can say the science of Islamic theology, which means the science of explaining the details. So for instance, ilm al-kalam is that field of study in which scholars respond to ideas that contradict the Islamic creed and supply detailed answers to those objections. Right? So they use evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, from rational evidences, right? To show that these beliefs of Ahl Sunnah is correct, of Islam, and those who deviated from those creeds, they explain it with a lot of details. Everyone doesn't need to know to do that. That is for the one who doesn't know or who is contradicting the Islamic creed. As for the one who learns the Islamic creed and believes it with a firm belief, they don't need ilm al-kalam. They don't need to know all that. But if one has doubts, one must learn it to the extent of removing the doubt. You follow? So it is not correct to say that learning about what is obligatory for Allah, what is obligatory to attribute to Allah, what is permissible to attribute to Allah, what is impossible to attribute to Allah is ilm al-kalam. That's not ilm al-kalam. That's foundational creed. And the funny thing is anyone who studied in Azhar knows this. So I don't know why someone who said I studied in Azhar would be mentioning this as if this is something new. And all the teachers and scholars in Azhar would teach you that. I don't get how did you come up with that? That's the official curriculum of Azhar. Even with deviant ideas seeping into Azhar, it's still the official curriculum of Azhar. It's not ilm and kalam. The kids learn that in beginners primary school. And teaching kids ilm and kalam, teaching them what they're supposed to believe in primary school. Games, 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 games. May Allah help us. Don't get frustrated. Just learn, right? Because sometimes the stuff can be frustrating. No, just learn your religion properly. And take the time to learn and learn and learn and learn, and then you'll see it yourself. But you can't microwave it. You got to slow cook it. You'll see it in time. It'll be clear when you learn. There is no replacement for seeking knowledge and learning. No replacement. If you go to Sulam al-Tawfiq, foundational points of Aqidah are right there, from page 3 to page 18. In this book, all those points from page 3 to page 18 are points from the Usul of Aqidah. So refer to that book. We don't need to repeat them all. It's 15 pages. Read it. And we explained it. If you go back to the beginning of these classes, we've been into the videos. It's on our YouTube channel, on the Facebook. You can go through Master Muhammad, go back to the beginning videos of these sessions. They're numbered. I think they're numbered, right? Yeah, they're numbered. Go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the explanation of those points are right there. So that make it easy for you. All of those are usul al-aqidah. Nothing is detailed. That's it with the questions. We all clear? Don't say we clear and we're not. Are we clear? Please, 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 please. I'm telling you, take your religion seriously. Don't take your religion just something I have a choice in. No, I need to learn my religion, right? We are adults. We are responsible. We have children. We're going to have grandchildren. You know, some of us have grandchildren. Some of us have great-grandchildren. A portion, no, all you need, Baron, all you need to read is from page 3 to 18. The other parts is about other matters related to the creed. But the point that you need of the usul is from 3 to 18. From 3 to 18. From 18 to 33 is other issues that are related to apostasy. So from 18, you're going to start from 19 to 33, you're going to talk about apostasy and joining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, right? So only from 3 to 18 is talking about the actual parts of the creed. The other stuff is that. No, I didn't forget his pictures, but they're too big. So what I'm going to ask him to do is, these are Brother Abu Yassin's, some of them. These posters that can be put in your homes. I'm just show you some of them, right? And he has, so maybe I'll do them one at a time. He said he has a whole trunk full of them, different ones, but you could just, they can be framed and put in your home. So I'll just show you what the ones he sent me here. Very beautiful calligraphy, mashallah. Very nice. Very strong things. And these are nice things you can hang in your home, mashallah. Different ayat of the Quran, and they're very beautiful. Very, very. Yes, I got to talk to him, so follow us. He told me what he wanted to do. He said he wanted to sell them for $20, and he wanted to make donations to the masjid and to the work that we're doing too from that. So that's his plan. We didn't work out ours how, but these are available, inshallah. And I got to talk to him more about how he wants to do it. But I have these here, and he can explain them to me later. I'm just showing you them, so I fulfill my trust to him that I did try to promote him. There is a brother. He's on. His name is Abu Yassin. Hey, Abu Yassin, could you say hi to everyone? He's handling that, and I don't know. All right. Karamatul Awliya is full in the Quran and the Sunnah. There is many Karamatul Awliya. If you got the Reliance of the Traveler, if you go to section W30, this book you should have, W30, on page 917 in the back. Here, Karamatul Awliya, in the Reliance of the Traveler. In that back section is a whole section that deals with the Karama of the Awliya. And it's written by Imam al-Nawawi. So if you get this book, it's available at our website if you don't have it. Could you put the link for the website for the book? If you don't have it, in that book, section W30, there is a whole talk about Karamatul Awliya. Your book should have been mailed. They should be on their way to you, Ayub. They were mailed out a while ago. Tayyib, that's it. No more questions. We good? So that's where it is, W30. Sister Bridget, if you send your information to Sister Isla, she's running that group for the sister study group, or send your info also to info. There's two different groups. Yeah, info here. If you send your information there, because they have a study group where they're reviewing, Isla is running that. And then we have a study group of reading with me with the sisters. So that's two different things. But they'll share it. No, the Reliance of the Traveler is a smaller, more suitable print. And this is the one they're doing. That's it. This is the book. And I remind you, could you put the donate a book link up? Because we're getting many requests for people who cannot afford, because the book is expensive. Years ago, some prince or ruler sponsored all the editions. So the book was cut in half. So you only had to pay $30 for the book. But that has long sailed, and now the book is $60. I mean, it's 30 years ago, or 20-something years ago, 25, 20, almost 30 years ago that was. Yeah, but now that doesn't exist. I mean, and so I wish it did. I would have done it, but it doesn't exist. And this one is much, much more useful. That big book was was rough, you know. So what we're doing is for those who cannot afford the book, because we want everyone to have it, because we're studying it and it's a useful tool. We ask of you to donate to that. Here is the where is it at? You can also go. This is the Reliance of the Traveler. You can go there and you can donate for help those who don't have money, right? And we do our best. We've been giving away books to those who really don't have the money. And if you don't have all the money, some of it, pay what you can so that we can keep it going. The most important thing is to keep the knowledge going, to have resources in the hands of people. And it's not just for that book. People, all the books we're studying like 5 books right now. And everybody cannot afford, especially during the pandemic. So if we all help, we make it feasible for everyone to have books and to study, because I don't want you just listening to me. I want you to have the text in your hand and I explain it to you and show you. That's how you're going to be able to learn well, right? If that's the reality of it. That's how you got to learn. Yes, that's the book. It's not the same no more. This ain't 1990. This is 2020. Things are different. I can't help that. I'm not the bookseller. And also remember, the sales also help the masjid keep doing our work that we're doing. It facilitates to do many things because we still got things to maintain. So with that, inshallah, Allah will make it easy for us all. Barakallahu bikum. Yeah, just mail to email address, contact information to info@mmacinc.org. But here, don't be, and I say this to you, we have a lot of work to do, right? And we're doing something that is needed. It's a fard kifaya, especially reaching the people we need to reach. We serve the underserved who have been neglected. That's what we do, right? So we need all the support to do this work. We ain't even begin to stuff we need to do, right? Really, the whole life, 20 hours a day need to be dedicated to this. 4 hours for sleeping and 20 hours working on this work. I'm honest, I'm not joking. That's what needs to be done. 4 hours of sleep, that's it, no more. And 20 hours working on the da'wah, working on the project, nothing else. That's what's needed. So you talking about, I got to go an 8-hour job or a 10-hour job. No. Minimum hours required, 20. 20 hours a day. Every day, 7 days a week, no vacation time. This is serious. And I'm not exaggerating. We need to do the work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off. We can eat in between while we're doing what we're doing. Even the scholars, while they were eating, they were reviewing. So we would eat food, someone's reciting lessons or reviewing, and while we're even eating. No time is wasted. Then we go to sleep in the 4 hours. We pray and all that in between, but it's the life. It's a life. It's a full-time job if we're serious, especially with the degree of lack of education in our communities and lack of knowledge and the amount of people we have to reach. We don't have time to play around if we understand what we're doing. So may Allah reward you all. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullahu khaira. Tonight, what is Friday night? We begin the book Minhaj al-Abidin for Imam al-Ghazali. Could you put the book up? I'm sorry, I'm driving you crazy. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Poor old me. So tonight at 9 o'clock, we start the reading of the book Minhaj al-Abidin. I don't have mine over here. You got a picture of it real quick or no? Too much? Or it's coming? 1 second. Because we finished Bidayah to the Hidayah. Don't send a message to there, Abdullah Muhammad. Send a message to info@mmacinc.org. Please, because I'm not going to be able to follow through with that. That's not, just send it to info@mmacinc.org. Send your concern about your book to them, and it'll get taken care of. Barakallahu fikum. So this is the book we start tonight. Minhaj al-Abidin ila Jannati Rabbil Alameen for Imam al-Ghazali. So we start that tonight at 9. Barakallahu fikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.